Welcome to today's Explainer. We're looking at something today that honestly feels a little bit like magic. We are going to explore a complete blueprint for building a highly successful, totally faceless YouTube channel using AI automation. So if you've ever wanted to share amazing stories but felt held back by the technical side of things, stick around. We're going to see exactly how this is being done right now. Okay, let's dive right into this. Look at that number, 75,000. That's a huge number, right? Well, that is exactly how many subscribers an entirely AI-generated motivational channel gained after uploading just 14 videos. Seriously? No way. Their most popular upload hit nearly 5 million views in just 4 months. And the crazy part, there is no real person behind a camera, there's no human voiceover, and absolutely no massive production crew. Today, we're going to reverse engineer exactly how that channel and a bunch of others like it pulled this off so you can apply these exact same steps yourself. So here is our roadmap for today's Explainer. First, AI YouTube automation. Second, channel branding. Third, script and story. Fourth, AI voiceovers. Fifth, visuals and editing. And finally, number 6, captions and thumbnails. Let's get right to it. Starting right off with phase 1, AI YouTube automation.
Look, everybody wants to build an online audience these days, right? But literally 99% of people quit before they even start. And they quit because the old way of doing things is just, well, it's hard. It involves massive barriers, like buying expensive cameras, setting up high-end microphones, and needing years of scripting and editing experience. But the new, AI-driven way, it's a total game changer. It completely eliminates those hurdles. By leveraging tools like ChatGPT for the writing, 11 Labs for the voice, and Leonardo AI for the visuals, you literally never have to show your face or use your real voice. You just act as the director.
All right, moving on to phase 2, channel branding. This is basically setting up day 0. Here is the exact workflow you should follow to get your identity set up from scratch. No graphic design degree needed, I promise. First, you just ask ChatGPT for, say, 10 simple motivational channel names. Let's pretend it gives you Victory Tales. To make sure you get a totally unique handle, you just add a suffix to the end, something like YT or Hub. So, Victory Tales YT. Next, ask ChatGPT to suggest logo ideas for that name. For a motivational theme, a rising mountain with a flag is absolutely perfect. Once the AI generates that image for you, simply drop it into a standard 16:9 safe area template in Photoshop just to make sure it looks crisp on every device. Boom, your branding is completely done. And this brilliantly illustrates our next phase, part 3, script and story. This right here is the core engine. Because, visuals might grab someone's attention initially, but the story is what actually keeps them watching until the very end. To source these stories, there are 3 really solid methods. First is the transcript method. You literally just take a popular video from a competitor, let's say a channel like Inspire Story Hub, copy their transcript, paste it into ChatGPT, and ask it to write a brand new story following that exact same structure. Super easy. Then there's the Google method, which is just searching for written motivational stories online to adapt. But the third method, the magic prompt. This is where you take absolute control. You can copy the titles of viral videos and use them as the seed for this ultimate prompt. Let's break down this magic prompt, because it's a real secret weapon. Think of it like a checklist with 6 specific things you're going to feed the AI. First up, the word count. Actually, quick pro tip here. AI often writes slightly less than you ask for. So if you want an 800-word script, which is pretty much the sweet spot for a 5-minute video, ask for 1,000 words. Then dictate the setting, like a modern-day Indian city. Define your protagonist. Establish the tone. Say emotional and inspiring. Pick a framework, like the classic hero's journey. And finally, state the moral of the story, like never give up.
To put that into perspective, let's look at the actual outputs you'd get from doing that. By feeding those exact attributes in, you get this incredibly compelling protagonist. Meet Arav. He's a 16-year-old vegetable vendor's son from the small town of Gorakhpur, holding on to this massive dream of attending a top-tier engineering institute. Do you see what happened there? Suddenly, we aren't just looking at cold, robotic text anymore. We're looking at a story with real heart, high stakes, and deep human emotion.
Which brings us nicely to part 4. AI voiceover. Time to bring this to life. Because look, once your script is locked in, we have to talk audio. A robotic delivery will ruin the absolute best script in seconds. Now, what's really interesting here is the exact proven formula for avoiding that. If you're using 11 Labs, you filter for a middle-aged, narrative voice like Takshish in Hindi. You set the speed to 0.9 and keep the stability low, right around 55%. That specific combination creates this wonderfully deep, calm, and incredibly wise narrator. Slowing it down just a tiny bit is absolutely crucial, because it allows the viewer to actually absorb the emotional weight of what's being said.
Okay, we do need to address the monetization elephant in the room right now. Can you do all this for free? Well, 11 Labs gives you 10,000 characters free a month, which is maybe enough for 2 videos, but for commercial use on YouTube, their terms do require a subscription. Their startup plan costs roughly 400 Indian rupees a month. To be completely honest, that is a very small, manageable investment. If you're genuinely serious about building an automated channel that actually generates income, this subscription is entirely worth it just to keep your channel safe and fully monetizable.
Moving right along to Part 5, Visuals and Editing. Let's talk visual storytelling.
So, to build out the visuals, you feed your script back into ChatGPT, ask for line-by-line image prompts, and then take those over to Leonardo AI. But pay really close attention to your settings here. You want to change the default preset from Phoenix 1.0 to Lifelike Vision. Why? Well, 2 massive reasons. First, it just breathes so much life into the story with hyper-realistic imagery. Second, it only uses 14 tokens per image instead of 24. That is vastly more cost-efficient, meaning you can generate way more images for your video without blowing through your credits.
Now that you have all your assets, it's time to assemble the whole shebang. Bring your voiceover into your video editor. Oh, a massive tip here. When you're trimming out dead space, do not delete the natural pauses in the AI's delivery. Those pauses are exactly what builds emotional tension. Next, sync your images to the voice lines. To bring those still images to life, add a dip to black transition between the scenes, and use keyframes to create a really slow, continuous zoom. Then layer a Fire Ember video overlay on top, set the blend mode to screen or lighten so it looks super cinematic, and finally, drop in an inspirational background track. A really great one from the YouTube audio library is called Slowly Until We Get There.
And that brings us to our final step, Part 6, Captions and Thumbnails, the final polish.
Your video might be beautifully edited at this point, but we have to package it so people actually click on it. For audience retention, on-screen text is literally king. You can use a totally free tool like Clipchamp to auto-generate highly accurate captions, and you can export them in full 1080p without any annoying watermarks. Then for the thumbnail, which completely dictates your click-through rate, the viral pattern to follow is surprisingly simple. Keep the text on your thumbnail exactly the same as your video's title. Don't confuse the viewer. Pair that text with just one single, visually striking AI image. For our story, just an image of young Arav looking up at a grand IIT building perfectly encapsulates the entire dream and struggle in one glance.
So, we've gone from a totally blank screen to a fully branded, scripted, voiced, edited, and packaged output using nothing but AI tools that are sitting right at your fingertips today. The barrier to entry isn't technical skill anymore, It's simply the willingness to just begin. So, I'll leave you with this provocative thought to ponder. Now that AI has opened absolutely all the doors, when are you starting your channel? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this blueprint serves you well.